you could do. What durable power of attorney is something that's relatively new that allows that power to continue after you're no longer mentally or physically capable of handling your own affairs. Now, if, for example, like my mom, when she died, she had Alzheimer's. My mom obviously was not in a position to pay her bills. My mom wasn't in a position essentially to do anything. The power of attorney, had she had one, of course she didn't, but had she had a power of attorney, she would have, that power of attorney would have been able to continue to do those things for her, even though she wasn't capable of doing them herself. And that's actually a good thing because, as you know, as the population grows older, dementia seems to be on the increase. There are people that can live a fairly long time with dementia. They have personal affairs that need to be handled, and as a consequence of that, they need to have some document that allows them to do that. Now, you can go through the court system and have a guardian appointed. That really shouldn't be necessary if you've got somebody who is honest in performing those functions on your behalf.
And usually it'd be a member of the family.
It usually is. Usually a child.
It's not one of these guys that suddenly appears and says...
But that happens on occasion, which is why I kind of gave that warning at the beginning.
Watch out, yeah.
But anyway, now it allows them to be paid. Now, I'm not suggesting that anyone would take money or that anyone shouldn't take money. It's up to the individual person. But if, for example, there are a lot of things that need to be done, the person who's the agent for the power of attorney, or for the person that's given the power of attorney, may find themselves in a situation that they're actually performing hours of work a week. Well, it may well be that that should lead to some form of compensation, and the new power of attorney form allows that to happen. And you think about that. For those of you that have current powers of attorney, that you have people doing things on your behalf, it's likely that you slip them a little bit of money or write them a check anyway, so it's not really any different than what you're already doing. It's just now codified and placed into the document itself.
Yeah, it's not unusual. If you settle an estate, you're entitled, I believe, by law, 10% of the estate.
Well, it's a sliding scale, but yes, they're certainly entitled to compensation for it.
And incidentally, when I settled on my mother's estate, I told the kids, look, I'm going to take my chunk out of this, or everybody can say yes, sir, on anything I say. We went with yes, sir, and it was settled in a wink with no trouble at all.
That's right.
No quibbling, no fighting.
I agree. And then my experience also has been the smaller the estate, the larger the fight, and I don't know why that is. I really don't understand
I don't either. You get like that lady that just cooked the goldfish of her ex-husband. You get excited about the dumbest things.
I know, but it happens.
Yeah, I'll tell you, incidentally, speaking of, you'd mentioned identity theft. It is on the upswing. Out of every, you can see it in the ads, but I mean, it is going on like crazy because it's a very lucrative business and so simple and very difficult to prosecute. So,
my wife actually got notification from one of her credit cards that somebody was using her credit card number, obviously not the physical card, and I can't remember exactly where the card was being used, but it wasn't anywhere around here. And finally, the company actually kept us apprised of their progress of the investigation. And what had happened was, somebody had taken, there's still these places where they actually have the carbon.
Oh, sure, that works.
Yeah, the carbon. Well, the carbon, if you've ever looked at them, always ask for your carbon. Now, let me say that first in case I forget to say it at the end. Always take your carbon if you get one of those transactions with a credit card where they actually run the machine across your credit card and it prints the number. If you look at the carbon, everything about that credit card is on it. It'll have your number, the expiration date. That's exactly right. So when those documents that you think are being shredded or thrown away, rather instead are being taken by somebody who's dishonest. And how many times have you over the internet or telephone said, I want to purchase a movie camera, I want to purchase a television, I want to purchase X, Y, and Z. Do they ever actually see your credit card? And the answer to that is no. But they have your number. But you have a valid number that you've given them, that you've stolen from somebody else, and now all of a sudden you become Jim Subjack with a credit card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 111, whatever, and with an expiration date of December 2012. And that's the information that's valid. They verify the information with the credit card company, and it's correct. It's very simple to do, and it's happening more and more often.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they do it on the internet. I make travel arrangements, I play games, and I use email pretty much, and that's the extent of what I do. But a lot of people are on the internet, and as a result of them being on the internet, you oftentimes order things. And in fact, I just mentioned I use travel. I always give them my credit card information to book Well, somehow people can hack into that stuff. I don't know how. I can't explain that to you. I'm not a technician. I'm not a wonk or a nerd that way. But if they can do it, you need to be careful with whom you deal, what information you give, and how you give it.
Watch your credit card.
Absolutely.
I check mine every few days, every couple of days. Well, we have a phone call. I want to take a call.
Absolutely.
Hey, good morning, caller.
Good
Thank you for
morning.
waiting.
Good morning. Good
Morning.
morning. Good morning. This beautiful morning.
Yeah, for a change.
Yes. A little chilly, but it's nice.
Well, that's okay. It's the sun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. First off, I just want to give out a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. B and thank them for all that they do for our community. And I have a question for your guest. When you make out a will, and like let's say you have family members and you've always said, well, when I'm gone I want you to have this and I want you to have that, and you either neglect to or forget to put that in the will, is that going to make a difference?
Ma'am, could you repeat? There's kind of some electrical interference and kind of cut out your question.
When you make out a will, and in the past, you've talked to family members or a good friend or something and said, when I go, I want you to have this, that, or the other thing.
It's not enforceable.
Okay, that's what my
That's
question
it.
was.
I know what you're saying. The little list where you say, I want Tom to have this, Mary to have that, and I want you to have your choice of this, that can work, but it's not legally binding. The only way that you can dispose of your property after death, and obviously while you're alive you can give it away to anybody you want, but after your death, the only way that you can ensure that the property you want transferred, and I'm talking about tangible property obviously, but the only way that you can assure that your tangible property is going to go to somebody that you want it to go to is you have to place it in your will. And that really sounds onerous. It really isn't. You need to before you, it's called a specific bequest, by the way. Before you make a will with specific bequests, you may want to ask people. I mean, you're going to get rid of the stuff anyway, and after death you'd like it to go to a particular person or a particular agency. You really want to ask them in advance, are you interested in anything? If so, what? If it turns out 3 people are interested in the same item, well, then you're going to have to make a decision. But whatever that item is, you need to place it in the will. And now let me also explain. It need not be to a relative. It can be to a charity, it can be to a stranger, it can be to an organization. You can give a specific bequest to about anybody you want. Secondly, it can be sums of cash, however, with the understanding that cash-specific bequests take precedence over what's called the residue of your estate. So let's say you've given $5,000, $10,000 specific bequests, and you wanted the balance, which you believe to be another $50,000 to go to, let's say, a child. Well, if your estate has diminished to the point where there's only $50,000 left at the time of your death, the specific bequests will be first fulfilled, meaning each of those people will get the $10,000, and the person that you expected to get the residue will get it. However, the residue is nothing.
Could be bupkas, yeah.
Now,
Yeah, and one of the other things you
Now,
might...
wait, I don't.
Go ahead.
How is it decided who gets the first amount of money?
It's in your will.
Oh, okay, it's
If you
on
put
your
it
list.
in your will that X, Y, Z, J, A, and P get $10,000 each, they get their $10,000 each, presuming it's there. If there's nothing left, that's what's left to distribute.
Now, but if I say I want my child to get the $50,000 and then I want the rest, these other people to get 10, my child will come first if it's
That's
listed
correct.
first.
Well, that would work.
Yeah,
Actually,
you
they'll
don't,
prorate it.
as he says, you've got to indicate who gets a certain amount. You mention the amount.
Oh,
you don't say
I
gets
see.
the rest.
The rest.
If
is
the rest could be nothing.
Now, one of
right.
the other things that really people don't think about, but they should, and now let me also state that if a provision in the will becomes unenforceable because of the lack of the item, it doesn't change the will. Let's say, for example, you were going to give your Waterford crystal vase to your daughter, and sometime before you died, your grandchild broke your Waterford crystal vase. Well, obviously, you don't have to redo your will because the Waterford crystal vase doesn't exist anymore.
Or it might still be in pieces.
Yeah,
You could
that's
give the
true,
pieces.
but you can just ignore it. It doesn't happen anymore.
Okay.
But one of the things that people don't do, and it's unfortunate, especially with the numbers of abandoned pets because of the recession, because of storms, because of other things. If you've got a pet, my guess is you have some affection for it. You love your pet. I love my pet.